Hello and welcome. I'm Devika Devan and you're watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at our top headlines this hour. Japanese local media reports that Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba is set to resign to make room for members of his leading party to hold a new leadership race. The decision comes less than a year after the 68-year-old took the helm of the long-dominant Liberal Democratic Party, but lost the majority in both houses of parliament. South Korea says it has reached an agreement with the United States for the release of detained Korean workers in Georgia. Yohan reports a plane will bring them home once administrative procedures are complete. Kyiv reels after a massive Russian barrage of drones and missiles ignites a government building overnight. Ukraine strikes back with a drone attack on a Russian oil pipeline in Bryansk near the western border. Thousands rally in Tel Aviv calling on President Donald Trump to end the Gaza war and secure the release of the hostages. Demonstrators pack a square outside military headquarters as anger against Prime Minister Netanyahu's government grows. Spain moves to impose a complete and immediate arms embargo on Israel, with Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's government considering declaring Netanyahu and top ministers persona non grata. The plan, reportedly set to take effect by a royal decree, builds on Spain's recognition of Palestinian statehood and follows cancelled defense deals with Israel. A preliminary report says a cable failure caused a Lisbon funicular to hurtle down a hillside, killing at least 16 and injuring 22. The tram-like carriage derailed Wednesday and slammed into a building near its twin at the bottom of the track. Business tycoon and veteran politician Anutin Charnvirakul is sworn in as Thailand's new Prime Minister after receiving the King's endorsement. He takes office amid months of political turmoil, becoming the nation's third leader in just 2 years. China says its forces trailed and warned a Canadian frigate and an Australian destroyer as they sailed through the Taiwan Strait. The People's Liberation Army condemns the passage as troublemaking and provocation. And our top focus right now, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba has decided to resign. According to reports, the move is aimed at preventing a split within the ruling Liberal Democratic Party. The Prime Minister's office has not yet commented. Ishiba, who came to power last year, has seen his coalition lose its majority in both houses of parliament. Voter frustration has grown over rising living costs. On Monday, the LDP lawmakers will decide whether to hold an extraordinary leadership election to choose his successor. The announcement comes just days after Ishiba's government finalized a major trade deal with the United States. Dr. Tomohiko Taniguchi, former advisor to late PM Shinzo Abe, joins us on NewsX World. Mr. Taniguchi, thank you so much for speaking with NewsX World. I have to begin by understanding from you, what do you think has gone wrong for the Liberal Democratic Party in Japan?
It's been extremely rare for the long-ruling party, the Liberal Democratic Party, to lose major elections 3 times in a row under the same leadership, Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. Rank-and-file members, grassroots activists of the LDP have voiced concerns, but Prime Minister Ishiba has so far refused to listen. That has actually put gasoline into fire, and before waiting for tomorrow's decisive results, likely that Mr. Ishiba effectively is going to be recalled, I think Mr. Ishiba has chosen to gracefully exit.
But at the same time, Mr. Taniguchi, what really becomes the future then of the LDP in the months to come?
That's the focal point. The first decision to be made is about the style, is about the formality of the leadership election. Under extraordinary situations, parliamentarians themselves could choose the next leader, but voices are being raised that it's going to have to be a full-fledged election involving all party members from grassroots regional members. So it'll take some time. And in the meantime, there will be political vacuum, certainly. And people have been actually fed up with this inability of govern of the LDP, of the Liberal Democratic Party, which has actually been one of the reasons why especially young votes have left the party en masse and gone to something new, some new party that's been formed lately.
At the same time, Mr. Taniguchi, is it true that the current PM was holding on to larger public support that he has in Japan, but the party itself is not too popular amongst the people at this point in time?
The LDP itself has constantly lost its support, that's for sure, from among the voters. And major broadcasting networks and broadsheet newspapers have run polls, and most of those polls have been mixed. More support to Ishiba and less support for extraordinary leadership election. But again, this is not a national matter. This is a party affair. And when it comes to grassroots members of the party say enough is enough, then that's going to be the case. And Prime Minister Ishiba has had to listen. But we must be cautious before hearing decisive remarks by Mr. Ishiba himself.
Absolutely. At the same time, how do you think that this would impact Japan in its negotiations with the United States of America, which have, of course, come to a close, but there is much to do as far as implementation is concerned?
That's one concern, grave concern as well. But the good news is, under Prime Minister Ishiba, the Japanese government somehow has cemented the deal. If this deal is a good one, it would have been much better, but it's been certainly better than the worst. So in that sense, Prime Minister Ishiba has done good service to the nation.
At the same time, Mr. Taniguchi, before we let you go, I have to understand from you, in your assessment, who's really going to be the next popular leader of the LDP who will be chosen by the party members?
The strongest contender, of course, is someone called Ms. Takaichi Sanae, who was just about to win the leadership when the last leadership election was held last year. So Ms. Takaichi is very much flexing her muscle to run for the leadership election to win the majority vote from among the party members and parliamentarians.
Absolutely. Mr. Taniguchi, thank you so much for joining us on NewsX World with that perspective. Appreciate it. Big developments taking place in Japan, but with that we shift our focus to the Russia-Ukraine war. Russia has now fired its biggest ever aerial barrage at Ukraine early Sunday, killing at least 3 people and setting the seat of the Ukrainian government in Kyiv ablaze. This marks the first time the government complex has been hit since the start of the war. The building is the home of Ukraine's cabinet, housing the offices of its ministers. This comes as the Ukrainian Air Force said that Russia launched at least 805 drones and 13 missiles between late Saturday and early Sunday, a new record. President Volodymyr Zelensky said emergency crews are working nationwide, describing the strikes as a deliberate crime and an attempt to prolong the war. Ukraine's foreign minister has also called the attacks a serious escalation. He urged allies to impose stricter sanctions on Russian energy revenues and to provide more air defense support. Kyiv's mayor has also reacted to the Russian attack. Listen in.
Чергова атака. Два района у нас більше всього в місті постраждало. Дарницький, Святошинський район. Зараз знаходимося в Святошинському районі. Ми бачимо влучання, обломки шахеда «Герань», влучання в житловий будинок, влучання є в урядовому кварталі, є урядова будівля, де зараз триває пожежа. Також в Святошинському районі горять складські приміщення, вертольотом ви чуєте, де зараз тушіння цієї пожежі. Пожежа на двох поверхах, влучання дрона і загиблих нема, наскільки у нас є інформація. Іде зараз ліквідація наслідків.
Elsewhere in Ukraine, Russian drone strikes have hit Odessa, injuring 3 people and damaging multiple buildings, including a 9-story residential block, a warehouse and a sports facility. Meanwhile, Russia has also said that it intercepted 69 Ukrainian drones overnight across multiple regions. Russia has shown no sign of halting its 3.5-year war, pushing hardline demands for ending the war, despite efforts by the United States to broker a peace deal. Major General Dr. Rajan Kochhar with us on the broadcast. He's a senior strategic and defense expert. Major General Rajan Kochhar, in your assessment, where do you see the war heading, at least for the next, few weeks?
Thank you very much for inviting me to this discussion. I don't see any kind of a let-up from the Russian side, because if you hear what Putin had said 2 days back, he told the Ukraine that either you come onto the table and negotiate for a settlement or a ceasefire, or else you would face an immense destruction. So the pattern, what I'm seeing in the last 1 month, there has been an escalation, and especially civil areas are now being targeted. Earlier it was basically the military targets, but now we see there is a strategic element to the thinking of the Russians, and they want a maximum pressure to be exerted on Ukraine to come on to the negotiating table. And when they will come to the negotiating table, Russia wants maximum leverage with them, and that is why we see Kharkiv has been activated, Zaporozhye has been activated, and Donetsk, especially the fighting on the southwestern part of Donetsk, has intensified. Russia already has around 20% of territory of Ukraine, and a few pockets of Donetsk are still yet to be captured. So I think the maximum fighting is going to take place in Kharkiv area, Donetsk area. And as far as the sustenance of the battle is concerned, I have no doubt in my mind that Russia has got enough of resources. They have a defense ecosystem available with them to sustain this war for another 1 year. So I have an apprehension that Zelensky is trying to delay this entire thing. Possibly he feels that he's going to get support from the European Union, and a few countries have also wanting Zelensky to continue with the fighting, but he needs to be slightly more pragmatic. He needs to see the writing on the wall, because the United States is not going to sustain this war for long. Trump may say anything, because Trump is also interested to bring a halt to this war, and there would be a point in time where Trump will also slow down his military hardware support to the Russians. And as far as I feel, to sum it up, I see 3 scenarios playing up. The first scenario is, as I mentioned now, and these scenarios are in the medium term. The most likely scenario is that there would be a continued attrition. It will be a protracted war, and the heavy casualties we are going to see now. And the areas are going to be expanded by the Russian defense forces. They would also target Kyiv. They would also target Odessa, because that is one area ultimately the Russians want to take a hold of that. The second indicator is a sort of a temporary ceasefire, I would say. I won't say the conflict will get frozen, and it will be through a negotiated kind of a thing where security guarantees will have to be given to Ukraine. So that would have to have the involvement of certain third parties like China, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and the European Union. So that is a 20% possibility I see. And the last is we see that everything will fail, and this war will be a protracted one where Russia launches a conventional attack, a total all-out attack for maximum occupation of territory. Likelihood of this third scenario is actually the least. It's not more than 10%. So ultimately, in my final analysis, I actually visualize that this war to be continuing for at least next 3 months. And I'm sure in that period of 3 months, there would be pressure on Ukraine to come to the negotiating table and you ask for a ceasefire.
Right, absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on NewsX World with that perspective. Meanwhile, in other news, South Korea has wrapped up talks with the United States of America over the release of detained Korean workers in Georgia, a presidential official has said today. Presidential Chief of Staff has announced in a televised remark that a plane will be dispatched to bring the workers home once administrative procedures are completed. The move comes after U.S. federal agents raided a Hyundai motor manufacturing facility in Georgia this week. Hundreds were detained in the raid, with a majority reportedly being Korean nationals. Officials in Seoul say that they will also seek ways to improve the visa system for Korean workers traveling to the United States to prevent a similar incident in the future. My colleague Thomas Porteous joins us on the broadcast. Thomas, can you take our viewers through what's the latest news that we're picking up?
Well, yes, of course, Devika. A huge announcement that South Koreans have been waiting for since Thursday, when 475 people, most of which are believed to be Korean nationals, were detained in the biggest single-site detention operation in American history. Now, when you vote for Donald Trump, who did campaign on this, the largest deportation operation in history, this is what they get. And South Korea, a traditional ally to the United States, are certainly included in this also. Obviously, tariffs have been a huge trade policy of Donald Trump's, with South Korea signing a trade deal which includes $350 billion worth of investment into the United States. So this has certainly caused some diplomatic tensions there. Of course, this will bring much positive news to South Korean ministry. However, they are no longer allowed to work in the United States. Now, Donald Trump and his administration and his very, some would say, brutal deportation techniques have sent these South Koreans home, working in an electric vehicles battery factory in the US state of Georgia. And so hopefully, and what the South Koreans will be hoping is that these detainees have been treated well. Reports that have come out from some people who have been detained by the Trump administration do not say that, but we will of course find that out very soon. And as we know that these detainees are going to be sent back to Seoul after negotiations since Thursday.
Tom, stay on with us as we shift our focus from South Korea to what's happening in Thailand. Thailand's new Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul was formally endorsed by the king and pledged swift action to tackle the nation's pressing challenges. Speaking at the Bumje Thai Party headquarters, Anutin vowed to urgently address the ongoing border dispute with Cambodia. Listen in.
ตัวผมและคณะรัฐมนตรีของผมทุกคนจะมุ่งมั่นทุ่มเททำงาน ด้วยความไม่เห็นแก่เหน็ดเหนื่อยใช้ทุกสิ่งทุกอย่างที่พวกเรามีอยู่ไม่ว่าเป็นกำลังกายกำลังสมองเพื่อให้ประเทศไทยของเราได้หลุดพ้นจากสถานการณ์วิกฤตต่างๆโดยเร็วที่สุดรัฐบาลของผมจะเร่งดำเนินมาตรการแก้ไขปัญหากรณีพิพาทระหว่างไทยและกัมพูชาด้วยแนวทางสันติภาพเพื่อให้เกิดการลดความสูญเสียของประชาชนของทั้งสองประเทศแต่อย่างไรก็ตามประเทศไทยจะต้องยึดหลักการที่เราจะต้องไม่มีวันเสียดินแดนแผ่นดินของเราแม้แต่ตารางเซนติเมตรเดียวนะครับจะยุบสภาครับนะครับภายในกรอบเวลา4 เดือนที่ได้มีข้อตกลงไว้เพื่อที่เราจะได้คืนอำนาจให้กลับคืนสู่พี่น้องประชาชนให้พี่น้องประชาชนได้ตัดสินใจอนาคตของประเทศต่อไป
Anutin, a seasoned political figure and skilled negotiator, defeated Kasim Nitisuri. The outcome marked a major setback for the ruling Pheu Thai party and its figurehead, former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. My colleague Thomas Port is back with us on the broadcast. Thomas, if you can take our viewers through what's the latest that you're picking up from the ground as far as now reactions to the new Thai Prime Minister are concerned.
Well, this new Thai Prime Minister, Anutin Charnvirakul, he won very well by a good amount in the Thai Parliament. So people are feeling positive around the new Prime Minister, getting his confirmation from the respected Thai royal family today. Of course, Thailand has been facing years of political turmoil. Anutin is actually the 3rd Prime Minister of Thailand within the past 2 years. This obviously follows a scandal with Pentongtan Shinawatra, who was removed from office by the very powerful Constitutional Court after a phone call was leaked of her discussing her own cabinet with the Cambodian leader Hun Sen, of course, daughter of the Shinawatra dynasty and has a very, very powerful father. Also, however, he has now escaped to Thailand. Escaped to Dubai. And so people are watching eagerly, seeing if Thailand's new Prime Minister can stabilize the country. Thailand, of course, facing a plethora of issues, including serious economic problems and, of course, those border tensions with Cambodia, which have flared up over the past few weeks after a ceasefire has now been settled, but tensions still remain, obviously. So we will just have to watch and wait eagerly to see how this new Prime Minister will tackle his crises at hand.
All right, Tom. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast with those details. Meanwhile, in other news, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar has said that the war in Gaza could end tomorrow, but only under 2 clear conditions. Sa'ar stated that if Hamas releases all hostages and lays down its arms, Israel will be willing to halt its military operations. The comments come amid ongoing international pressure to end the months-long conflict, which has left thousands dead and destroyed larger parts of Gaza. This comes as reports said that US conveyed new principles for a comprehensive hostage ceasefire deal to Hamas through an Israeli mediator. Talks on a possible ceasefire remain stalled, even as humanitarian concerns continue to mount. Mr. Ali Mohammed Abushbak, independent Palestinian researcher with us on the broadcast. Mr. Abushbak, what do you make of this latest offer by Israel? Because why I ask that is the terminology this time is different. What the Israeli Foreign Minister has essentially said is to lay down arms. It's no longer about the removal of Hamas from Gaza, or is that something that we're reading too much into it?
Thank you, Pivika, for having me. The thing is, this is one of the Israeli strategy to avoid from the blaming and lambast from the international community with regard the Israeli invasion and the Israeli Israelis' behavior on the ground, while the international communities lambast deeply Israel's behavior and Israelis' aggression on Gaza, as well as on Gaza City, that the Israelis trying to reoccupy Gaza. With regard lying down of weapon with Hamas, Hamas was clear with that in April 2024. The high-rank leader of Hamas, Khalil al-Hayya, he confirmed that they are going to lie down their weapon in one case if Israel allow for the Palestinians to establish their statehood in the lines of a pre-1967 war, the borders. So the thing is very clear. While Benjamin Netanyahu, he confirmed that he will not let the Palestinians to establish their statehood and for their self-determination. So here is making the things more complicated. And what about Hamas ability, militant ability? So for the people and the audience who doesn't know that the ability of Hamas militant, Hamas has only AK-47 that used during the Second World War and some homemade rocket from Gaza and some sniper. So the ability of Hamas is not giant weapon and it's not advanced weapon. It's just only to resist a few things from the Israelis' occupation, and with a little bit of the anti-tank missiles from Gaza that handmade it as well, homemade it from Gaza. So we don't have the advanced militant weapon. So what he means just only to avoid the international community blame and put the ball on the Palestinians court that Hamas should be responsible about the Israelis' behavior on the ground and the displacement of the civilians from city to city, from place to place. So here worth mentioning that also the Israeli community also against this war in Gaza, they consider it as a meaningless. It has a no meaning, and it doesn't giving any single it doesn't achieve to one single aims. While in the very beginning of the war, the aim of the war to return the captive and the hostages, and also diminished Hamas militant, despite Hamas ability and the militant of Hamas abilities diminished during the war and deeply impacted during the war, as several of Hamas leaders, either from the politician part or from the militant part, Izzeddin al-Qassam brigade, they have been assassinated and they have been killed during the war. But also there is a group, they are still resistant to the Israelis invasion on the ground. So here is the significant things among of the atmosphere of the international community who deeply lambasting Israel's behavior. Now they want to put the ball on the Palestinian court, as they are responsible of what is happening on the ground and what is happening from the Israelis' brutality on the ground. But I can't understand. See, also they are signing a ceasefire with Hezbollah, despite Hezbollah show its responsibility, and Hezbollah is still working with this ceasefire, doesn't attacking Israel, but still Israel attacking Hezbollah area and Hezbollah's leader. We have weekly we hear and we witness several of Israeli airstrike in South Lebanon. That will happen if Hamas is going to lie down its weapon. Israel will find several of excuses to invade Gaza and reoccupy Gaza.
Okay, all right. Mr. Bushbak, thank you so much for joining us on NewsX World with that perspective. We leave it there. Meanwhile, in New York City, Democratic mayoral nominee Zoran Mamdani has shared the stage with Senator Bernie Sanders at a packed town hall on Saturday night. The event, part of Sanders' Fighting Oligarchy tour, drew 1,800 people to Brooklyn College despite the rain. Sanders, who endorsed Mamdani in June, rallied the crowd against corporate influence, while Mamdani vowed to freeze rents and took a swipe at his rivals, saying, "We have to beat him one more time." This is what Bernie Sanders had to say.
This guy started at 2% in the polls, and he blew away the opposition. We are living in crazy world. Millions of people struggling to put food on the table, and making one guy a trillionaire is insane. Not what this country is supposed to be about, and we are not going to allow that to happen. You know what they're afraid of? They're afraid of Mr. Mamdani becoming an example to what can happen all over this country.
Meanwhile, the campaign spotlight is intensifying. Earlier in the day, all 4 mayoral candidates marched in the city's annual Labor Day parade, trading sharp attacks. Cuomo branded Mamdani a stooge for Trump. Adams stressed his working-class roots, and Republican Curtis Sliwa pitched himself as the people's candidate. However, listen in to what Zohran Mamdani has to say.
New York City is not for sale to Donald Trump's billionaire donors. It is not for sale to corporations like DoorDash. It is not for sale to corrupt politicians like Andrew Cuomo. And so together we will freeze the, make buses fast and deliver universal. We will freeze the, make buses fast and deliver universal. We will do these things, and we will do them together.
And well, that's all that we have time for. Stay tuned to NewsX World for more updates on the other side.